All right. Okay, 1 o'clock. So we can go ahead and start. Thank you so much. We have so much to cover, and we have so many people involved. So they'll kind of introduce themselves as we go along. But thank you for coming to Faculty Development Through the Career Spectrum. I'm Elizabeth Lee Nullett from the University of Cincinnati. And the slide's not moving. Let's see. It's on here moving, but it's not on there moving. Great. Okay. One moment. Pause. Resume slideshow. Okay, it went? Okay. All right, so this is our list of presenters from multiple institutions. These are our disclosures and our objectives, which I won't read since you guys can read well. Okay, so this is our agenda. So we're gonna do our introduction. We're gonna have 2 separate breakout sessions. The first one will be split into 2 groups based on intergenerational mentoring and overcoming barriers. And the second breakout session will be broken up into 3 groups based on early, mid, or late career. And then we'll finish it up with finding and providing effective mentorship. I see so many happy faces. Hello. All right. Bam.
Okay. So, my name's Pam Dine. Oh, it's great. My name's Pam Dine, and I am at All of You UCLA Medical Center, where I'm the director of academic affairs for our department at All of You, and also a chief physician wellness officer. So we throw around the words mentor, advisor, sponsor, coach a lot. And so I wanted to just break it down a little bit as to what, and help define what each of these are, because we're going to be talking a lot about mentoring. And so, you know, what is mentoring, right? And so I don't necessarily need to read it to you off the slide because you all can read, but I want to highlight just that mentoring is meant to be longitudinal. It's based on the mentor's sort of experience that they call on, right? Advising is similar. It's professional guidance, usually driven by the advisor, right? A sponsor is actually supporting people in their academic advancement based on people's connections. It's again based a little bit on the idea that somebody has more connections than the other, and so they help lift the other up, right? And then coaching is an entirely different thing. And if you're really interested in coaching, I'll plug a panel that we're doing on Friday at noon, really breaking this stuff down as well. Coaching is less hierarchical, more egalitarian in that regard. So all of these have value in our professional development at different times, and so people need different things at different times. So we wanted to set the stage for this discussion based on just a shared common language as to what we're talking about with regards to mentoring. Did I do that right? Okay. So the title of this presentation is Mentoring Across the Career Spectrum, right? So we have our early career folks, we have our mid-career folks, and our later career folks. We, as a group, decided that we liked early and later as opposed to junior and senior a lot better, because it just sounds more like what we're doing, right? Because age really doesn't have to do with this. It has more to do with where you see yourself, right? So here's some of the challenges and opportunities in each of these parts of our careers, and we're going to lean into this more in one of our breakouts. So raise your hand if you identify yourself as an early career person. All right. How about if you identify yourself as a mid-career person? Cool. And how about late career? Yay. All right. So we've got a whole mix of people at different career stages in this room, which is awesome because we also have that same exact combination of people in our departments, right? So one of the challenges that we identified when we were working out this discussion is that we are both, while we are also early, mid, and late careers in our academics lives, we are also different ages. And so we show up to our workplace with kind of a background of our generational experiences. I'm sure you've seen the expressions before, right? We work in a diverse work environment, as we just alluded to. So the baby boomers are defined by the age generations in there. I'm not going to have people raise their hands. You don't have to But something I did learn earlier today is if you look at your badge, there's a number underneath the barcode. That's the number of the number you were actually, how long you've been in an SAEM member. So if you've got a number that's like 3 digits, like you're probably a baby boomer. So anyway, why are these generational cohorts important? Well, it is because we grew up as a cohort with different societal experiences, right? So baby boomers grew up in an era when, and these common areas like shaped our worldview, shaped our way of thinking about things, and shaped also our appreciation for what we like in a learning environment, right? People tend to like what they grew up with, right? And it can be hard to change. This is what's really interesting about this. So if you've got a baby boomer or an older Gen X faculty member who has their lecturing style, right? They have their talking style. They are pretty unlikely to really reach our younger learners, because that is not how they learn. And they're not going to just respect the more late career faculty member for who they are and what they've brought to the equation, because they are much more about what are you doing for me now? And they approach learning from an entirely different viewpoint. So how many people have who are more late career are advising a resident who's more early, is obviously younger, and so what books, what tools are you using for self-directed learning, right? What books do you like reading? And they're like, books? What's a book? How about what videos are we listening to? Or I really feel like I learn better in the car while I'm driving to work, in a podcast and that kind of format. And this is how they're learning. And so we have to meet, if we want to actually reach them, we have to meet them where they are. So this is just kind of a quick summary of the challenges and opportunities, shall we say, of intergenerational learning. And we'll have one of the breakout groups, about that. So how does this all pertain to our different sort of cohorts within the department too? So women faculty and trainees, as well as underrepresented in medicine, historically, folks in our departments, and all of this stuff that I've been talking about in terms of generations and where you are in your career. How does that overlap with our segments within our group too? And it's, I don't know, just everything overlaps, right? So as traditionally women share a disproportionate burden of childcare responsibilities. That is, regardless of how your family is composed, somebody is usually bearing the disproportionate burden there. Sometimes there's a career pause related to childcare or elder care or other aspects, right? In terms of underrepresented in medicine, historically, folks, there's the minority tax. I probably don't need to, do I need to explain what the minority tax is? This is, it's a very isolationist thing. And depending on how many people are sharing that, there may be a lot more on your plate as a result of that. And again, isolation, this depends on the department. Come on in, it's okay, sit down. Yeah, awesome. And then the overlap around bias, the overlap around finding a mentor. That's why we're talking about this now, finding a mentor who meshes with you and sees who you are, right? And then now we get to talk about also the challenges due to our political environment and how that's affecting our peers and ourselves. So there's a lot to unpack there. So I'm going to turn it over to, here we go. There you go. Yep.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Arthur Broadstock. I'm coming from the University of Cincinnati. And I feel like I don't have to do a whole lot to convince you all in this room that mentorship is important and is impactful to our careers. This is a cornerstone of career development in academic emergency medicine. But it's nice to know that the literature also supports this. There was a systematic review by Sambuchak et al. From 2006 that found that mentored individuals experience higher career satisfaction, increased research productivity, and greater academic advancements. Furthermore, a study by Frey et al. In 2010 demonstrated that mentorship enhances clinical skills, it fosters leadership development, and also improves the likelihood of securing research funding. Importantly, investing in mentorship strengthens departmental culture, and builds leadership capacity from within. So this isn't necessarily just fostering good relationships between people in your department, but this is really just an investment in building the future of academic emergency medicine and promoting both the individual success, but also the success of our field at large. Now, mentorship is not always easy, and there are multiple pitfalls to consider when engaging in successful mentorship relationships. Common pitfalls that can undermine the effectiveness of these partnerships include mismatched expectations, poor communication, lack of availability, or unclear goals. Sometimes mentors may unintentionally project their own career aspirations onto their mentees without fully appreciating the goals of the mentees themselves. Conversely, mentees may hesitate to provide feedback to their mentors or rely too heavily on their mentors to develop or initiate that relationship. So, recognizing these challenges early allows both the mentors and the mentees to recalibrate into a more rewarding relationship. And this is something that we're going to dive a little bit more into with our breakout sessions. So, actually, with that, we are going to split the room into two groups. So, we'll have stage left. So, this side of the room be one group, and this side be another group. So, we're going to focus on two different topics. One will be intergenerational mentorship, which will be this half of the room. And then this half of the room, we're going to talk about overcoming mentorship barriers. So at the end, we're going to have a recap where we're going to highlight kind of the take-home points for each group. So we won't be switching. So whichever one that you guys feel that you would like to participate in, please filter yourself to that side of the room. So intergenerational mentorship and overcoming mentorship barriers.
to share about the some of the issues that I wonder if the community and the different some of the it's just like you're supposed to meet with all those people and it's a checklist. They don't know why are you not doing this? And it's just hard. You know, we're very excited that we don't have to be in person. But it is something that can be our calls and we're planning to travel about here in the 80s. And so yes, they have an organization to their family and not just that I don't care how we're acting but they're me and so I think it's going to be something that we why they're having more to have a little bit of difference in generation. That's what's awesome. With this other I feel like there was a desire to have some boundaries. So I just want to make sure I think the word meeting actually intention in myself and my experience.
One way to discuss it is
So I think can you check out your government for
page that I don't know, make sure. Our dynamics are close to a little bit bias, such that approach
again, those
person as a collaborator that would show and shape
I would be maybe when you get in something that I have, but whereas I want to like text which hasn't what that has is not is that I think after so because it's a first so you not then all of those are
really, really good for me. But the way I do it, or my practice of it, is to use it in all sorts of regardless of the respective range. Begin by saying, we're collaborating.
You know, and to me, I'm like, oh no, you know.
There are certain things that I may know, that I'll try and do part in their things that, some so-called VC may know, that they're working to do. So I kind of use it universally, trying to me. And that doesn't mean that you can't like, that doesn't mean that when you're writing down your progress report or whatever it is, that just means when you're in a room with that person, and other
Oh, I do a debrief. Sorry. The discussions are just now starting to get heated. I love it. I love the engagement. And it's time to switch because we still have a lot more to cover. So, Katrina, do you want to do a debrief for group one? Yeah, you guys stay put. Okay. You want to come here?
Hi, everyone. My name's Katrina Gibson. I'm Emory faculty at Grady. Thank you all for joining us today. So 8 minutes goes by quite quickly, but we were able to cover a lot of ground. We discussed a situation in which we had a more junior mentor and a senior mentee, which is, of course, not something that we're often familiar with. We talked about a lot of the issues that could arise, one of which the scenario was the mentee not only junior, but she was also female, and her senior mentee was a male. And we talked about some of the biases in addition to the obvious being age, but also the role of possible gender bias that can take place in these types of roles as well. And there was a lot of good suggestions, things maybe talking about the pros and cons of possibly renaming the relationship, but then there was also the concern where if the roles were more traditional, would that feel as if we were possibly detracting from the role of mentor? We talked about, of course, just calling a thing a thing. If you recognize that bias exists for whatever that reason may be, it's important to discuss it because you can't change and or impact the things that you don't measure and or acknowledge. And just clarifying the roles and expectations of mentor-mentee, regardless of what the title may be or the participants in the relationship, regardless of where they may be in their career. What are their expectations? What is each individual in your party supposed to gather from the relationship? And had we had more time, I'm sure we would have covered a little bit more, but those were the main takeaways from our discussion.
All right. My name is Adrienne Haggins. I'm at the University of Michigan. Our group talked about overcoming barriers. We only got through one case, but had a lot of great interaction, so that's totally fine. We talked about an example where a more junior trainee, which was a fellow in this case, was being contacted by a senior mentor to make a meeting or set a meeting, and hadn't made a meeting because they had some preferences in regards to boundaries on their time. And in this example, didn't explain that to the mentor to let them know that they want their work days to be for work and their outside time to be for what they wanted it to be. And so, you know, a lot of people touched on the lack of clarity, the lack of communication, the lack of describing what each individual party, what their expectations were for the relationship, and to try to avoid being the senior mentor and having an assumption about that particular more junior person or younger faculty, and having that narrative discussion by yourself and making sure that you are transparent in regards to your expectations for that mentee. Okay, so I think I'm introducing the next session. And so the next session is going to really talk about the pain points or opportunities for each stage of career. So thinking about when you're early career faculty versus the other later stages of your career, kind of the challenges that you, based on sort of what you want for yourself at each of these phases, and what mentorship relationship challenges tend to come up. So you could stay within your group, but maybe, I don't,
It might be easier to do front of room early, mid is mid, and then late is all the way in the back, baby. All right, and we got 8 minutes to talk about our case. Yeah. It's so big. Oh, yeah, you're right. You're right, it's so hard. It's so, yes, I know, I'm sorry.
That's what I'm saying. But a hospital-based environment or a university-based environment. In non-university
All right, I'm going to summarize here. Sorry to cut off the conversation. Ryan Walsh, one of the faculty members at Vanderbilt Medical Center. We talked about the early career mentorship section here and had a great discussion. One of the key parts of early career mentorship is really defining what the core challenge is for your mentee. So are they looking for you as a mentor to help them develop a research project and a niche in research? Are they looking for more balance in their life? And we talked about some strategies regarding helping your mentee early on say no to projects, or kind of redirect that no into something that would help further their niche in their career. A lot of early career stuff is also about work-life balance and trying to figure out how can you help them as a mentor in that scenario. One of the tough things is, as a mentor, you can't do everything. And Pam talked about coaching versus sponsorship. And so a lot of that can just be also, hey, here we've defined the challenge for you. Here's other avenues that you can receive that coaching, receive that sponsorship. So it's not all on you as the early career mentor.
Thanks. I'm speaking for the mid-career group, even though I'm not mid-career by far. So some of the challenges extending the issue about work-life balance that mid-career faculty face. They also face the challenge of they were formerly primarily a mentor, and now they've become a mentee, and now they've been asked to become a mentor for different faculty and students, and also increased expectations of their time, of their work, of different things that they're assigned to and asked to do. And to address those challenges, a couple of thoughts came through. Two powerful thoughts are that the power of saying no, which we all have to learn. Saying no it can be difficult at an early stage, but it's a skill that needs to be developed and is absolutely vital to preserving your sanity when you're being asked to do all this stuff. Another way to address it is to figure out what you really like, figure out what you enjoy, what you want to do in your career. And so, it can be difficult to tease that out, but that is another adaptation mechanism. Finally, we also emphasize a point about not only getting counsel from your internal medical school and your department, but also seeking advice from others, not in medicine, not in emergency medicine. They have experiences, and they, often know you better, should know you better in the case of family and friends. So be open to getting counsel from them as well.
I'm talking for the old people. The main theme of what we were talking about was somebody who was in their career, had progressed significantly in their career in whatever role that they were in, and they were receiving less satisfaction in their career at this point, just because it kind of became stale. So we discussed the concept of pivoting and how you, in order to pivot, you would need to have a real needs or a skill assessment of figuring out what your skill set is. One of the things that Dr. Carter was talking about was how she had used a skill set in education for residents, and then she progressed it into being able to use it for faculty, and that was an entirely different job shift and pivot. Another option would be something if you have the role of, let's say now you're the chairman, you have power to be able to focus on what you like to do, and you can work on both delegating some task or some area of interest to someone who's more junior, which at the same time allows you to progress their leadership skills up and allows you to mentor them so that they are in a position then to maybe provide for succession for you eventually if that's what was important for your role. We discussed, in addition to having a needs assessment, that one of the ways to do that is by having good peer mentors. So having someone who really knows you in order to look at what your skill set is, and then to build on what Dr. Heron was talking about, finding your joy. So she has identified her area of joy and has progressed what she loves and what her passion is, which is DEI, through all of the levels of career that has taken her to deanship at a medical school. I would add, you also have to figure out what your priorities are, because many of the times when we talk about how you're going to progress your career, people automatically assume the next step's going to come with a bigger paycheck and more authority and more something. That doesn't have to be the case. It can be something where you decide, depending on your priorities, maybe you don't need a bigger paycheck. Maybe you find time is much more important to you at that time. Whatever it is, you figure out what your priorities are, and then you are in a position to maybe pivot to a different role that would allow you to focus on the things you really enjoy, and you can discard the things you don't want to do. So that was our group. Thank you. Yeah, Merle.
Obviously I'm in the gray hair group, but one of the things I think in this right column, I think probably maybe missing is the fact that at this age, I don't know how many others are grappling with over hair and taking care of older, aging, and feeling parents, and that whole sort of sandwich generation concept. And I sort of wish when I was in my early career, or even mid-career, I had set things up a little bit differently, anticipating this. And now, there's a bunch of us in our department that are really grappling with the same thing, and wish that, how do you manage home care? And, they're not, I can't get this done, I can't come in tomorrow because I have to take this person through, this appointment and things. So, sort of, I guess it goes in the whole life juggle, but in a way that I think a lot of people don't anticipate. So we should spend probably time preparing for not only our own aging and clinical care, but our parents and other family members, particularly for women in our lives. We tend to bear the brunt of sort of those parenting roles.
110%. So I have 3 elders that I'm caring for. I've gotten 2 calls from the home care person already today, and my sister texted me as well. I think one of the things that's interesting to me, that I play this out as a woman in medicine, is that when I was having children, everyone had suggestions. Like when I was pregnant, everybody had questions, everybody had suggestions, every possible scenario. Are you going to nurse? Are you not going to nurse? Are you going to have, who's going to take care of the baby? What's your plan? Like, what are you thinking about for backup? What, I don't know, where do they want to go to preschool? Nobody's asking me what nursing home I want to send my mother to. Like, that's not coming up. But I think this is actually, and sorry to advertise for another group, but I started an interest group called Aging Well in Emergency Medicine for AEM, specifically based on this. Because I think, especially as a woman in medicine, that it is essential for us to talk more openly about this, because all you young kids, which was the young side, all you young kids need to know this might be coming. God willing, they live that long, but we need to support each other that way, I think, too. And I think that's another important mentorship angle. Absolutely. Thank you. Tatiana.
I think something that, which kind of a little differently involved, is financial literacy.
Correct.
Because a lot of us, especially in whatever your background is, you're student loan, you're now coming into a space that you're getting a paycheck that probably your parents have never seen, and you don't know what to do with that. I think you made mistakes in your first few years as an attorney. How do we set up the stage early in our career so that when you are later in our career, you can then have the privilege to
to, like, I can afford to have a little nurse from my parents. So I think that should be really incorporated in that relationship because it's not something that you get in most other forms of recognition. Thank you. Next. On this one?
It's going on here, but it's not coming up on there.
Using slideshow here.
There you go.
All right. So what button did you just push?
Right.
This one? Okay. Okay, so as we are trying to wrap some of the key points up, we wanted to just try to ground in what are you doing when you're first trying to just find a mentor, and starting with self-reflection, and not necessarily this is who I think you should be paired with, but thinking about what do you want? What skills are you trying to grow? What do you value? So that as you're meeting new people, you can try to identify, does this person align with what I'm hoping to develop in myself? Thinking again, like your values, what are your goals professionally as well as personally? And then identifying mentors by asking around, trying to get a sense informally and formally, sort of, you can see what their CV shows, but asking informally, what is it like to work with this person, to see if that's someone that you would want to work with. Getting recommendations. Say you meet with someone and they say, I don't have the bandwidth. Do you know if anyone else that could be a potential mentor for me? If you're not able to make time, is there someone else that you would want to recommend? And then you select your mentor. I feel like a lot of my spinning my wheels early in my career was trying to make somebody work, and that doesn't work in dating and it doesn't work in mentoring. So, so really trying to feel empowered, like you make this choice of who you want to involve in your life, and that you hope that they're going to pour into you in ways that are going to be beneficial to you, and that it's a positive interaction. And know that it's not just one person. You're not looking for a guru. I had a guru after I finished my fellowship, and then he moved to another institution, and then I didn't have anyone. And so you don't want to put yourself in that position where you only have one person that you can rely on and only one person that weighs in. And so you want to think about a mentorship model that looks like a team, a network that fills the cups that you're trying to develop. So that's going to be clinical in regards to how you provide care. That may be research, that may be education, but thinking about as you're looking towards promotion, who are those people that can help groom you? And then when you have your conversations with them, you want to clarify what structure works for you as well as what works for them. Are they someone that wants to meet with you weekly? Does that work for you? If you have other responsibilities, you may not want to sign on for someone that wants to meet on campus every week, when you may prefer to do things at your kitchen table and not come to campus every week. And then clarifying the objectives. Are you going to work with a paper? What's the timeline for that paper? Is it a project? Are you carving out a project that's their project that they want you to do? Or is this a project that allows you opportunity to explore? But really having these clear, transparent conversations. The concept of managing up. So being responsible for how your mentorship relationship develops over time, and not expecting that your mentor is going to manage you, because people don't want that responsibility as a more mid-career, kind of more senior person. And then the concept of, it doesn't help anyone for you to overpromise and underdeliver. And so maybe thinking about, especially as you're learning the skills, to underpromise and hopefully overdeliver as a strategy to try to build confidence in what you're capable of. And to not be in a situation where your mentor has expectations that you're not able to fulfill. And then being mindful of people's time. And so that's your time as well as theirs. So, you may not be able to access the senior mentor weekly. You may want to prioritize those big picture career, which journal do I send this to after the paper is almost fully written. Prioritize how you use that senior person, and utilize peer mentors as we mentioned in the last section. Let's see. And then in regards to the engagement, prioritizing what the mentee and what their experiences are, what they value. and recognizing that the path of the mentor is not necessarily the same as the path for your mentee. And making sure that you don't expect that your mentor is going to be your manager. And there's a concept called push-pull that just tries to change the dynamics of mentor-mentee models, where you're thinking about, particularly for women and people that feel marginalized within the academic space, are there opportunities as a mentee that I can highlight my great mentor, the one that probably is undervalued, that probably has a minority tax? Can I invite them to my institution when I graduate as a medical student and go to residency so that they could be highlighted for what they brought into my life? So thinking about how can you push those opportunities up to your mentor, and then as a mentor, pulling your mentee up, giving them those opportunities for participating in a working group that you may have served for several years, that may be an opportunity for them to see what they can do. Clarifying uncertainty when things come up, ask. Peer mentorship, we mentioned the concept of training. You know, there's this expectation that this is sort of this passive thing that we're all expected to do in academic medicine, but thinking about how can you show up your skills so that you can be accessible to broader groups of mentees and develop skills to help that you can translate to them. And so it may not necessarily be doing just what you've done. It may be learning actual new skill sets through faculty development. And then thinking at the institutional level, what are the incentives in place within your departments that highlight the value of mentorship? How are they allowing you to carve out time in order to be effective in mentoring the next generation of emergency medicine docs? And then are there ways to recognize this within your department, whether through incentives that are money-based or through recognition as in awards? And then to really center that this is a relationship. This is not necessarily meant to be transactional. That's a superficial way of going into these relationships. It's about connection. It's making sure that the person has the ability to be authentic. Ideally, you would want to have chemistry with the person you commit to being in this mentorship relationship with. Your goal is not to diminish their ideas. It's to hopefully allow them to be inspired. And that ultimately this could lead to papers, publications, talks, but you want to see if you can contribute to ultimately their character development. Is there something that they see in you as a senior person that they want to incorporate to how they want to practice or how they want to have an impact in their career? These are just a list of resources that the things that I highlighted on our two slides, sorry. They were pulled from some of the articles that we have here as references. It also includes different resources at either professional society level or other resources available to help in improving your access to mentorship and training.
People can bring it home. Oh, we have something totally different here. So I really actually want to thank everyone for coming and sharing your experiences, because this is group learning. Mentorship is sort of lifelong. It's why we are here and why we chose academic careers. I am a mentor to a lot of people who are junior. I have near peer mentors. I am mentors to people at my institution. I am mentors to people sort of at other institutions. I am sometimes a task mentor, and I have longitudinal mentorship, and I have those people who fill all of those roles for me, including people who are much more early career than me, because I'm like, I don't know how to do any of some of this stuff and social media and other things. So we are continually learning. And I think coming from that growth mindset is the most important thing. And I think when I think about this and we're talking about all the barriers and the issue is communication. And this is, we learn in medical school and residency how to communicate difficult things with patients and families. We don't really learn how to communicate those difficult things with our peers and with our boss and the people who sort of hold the power over us, because it feels scary to tell someone this is not such a great relationship. So I think the more you learn to feel comfortable communicating those issues and expectations and setting a ground rule, which feels very kind of strict and formatted, is something that's good to do at least at some point, especially early in a mentorship career. And obviously we were sort of talking in our groups, like those organic mentorship experiences we have that really last a long time don't seem as formal, but having that will be helpful, setting those expectations, and then also learning to recognize when something doesn't feel
mentorship is mutual and beneficial to both people. And when it's not, that's a signal to exit and not burn bridges, but to understand that this is not a good, like you're dating, this is not a good relationship anymore. And that's okay. And make it not about the person, it's about the behaviors. We don't work well together. This doesn't work for me. This is where I need to be. And finding someone who could help you then sort of take where you need to go. And some of that comes with self-reflection over time. And some of that comes, you realize when you first started a place, you don't know who the right person's going to be. And or you need to look outside your organization. And sometimes that's also beneficial. That's why a lot of us have allyship groups, because we're like, I need someone who's experiencing this right now. And so take all of that sort of together. But it's a great thing, and it's a great thing to see other people here and appreciate. Yeah. You can,
This is really for, I think, the beginning. I remember when I was very junior and I would go to sort of sessions like this. And how do I reach out to somebody? I feel very awkward about cold calling or cold emailing someone like they're asking out on a date or something. And you're not sure if they're going to say yes. The whole thing is awkward. The whole thing's just weird. But what I found is that people are very giving with their time and very lovely and very interested in helping each other. So don't feel squeamish about that. And, you know, look through the lectures at this conference and any of the other conferences that you go to in areas that you're interested in, and reach out to those people who were giving the talks, or go to the talk and then ask them after. Very rarely will someone say, no, I'm not willing to help you. But you know, sort of making that first, I think that's probably one of the hardest things, is making that first contact and asking for the date is, I think, hard.
The other thing I would say also is, if you guys don't have a personal mission statement, think about creating that, and think about asking your mentees to create that, because then that'll help you to say, can I take this person on? Can I not? Or does this fit into what I want to do? Or does it not fit into what I want to do? It really kind of grounds you and helps you also to pick your mentors are.
And for the people transitioning to mentorship, I try to write down what my structure and expectations were, and I send that in advance.
That's
Because
perfect,
while
yeah.
we're trying to figure out the meeting and all the nuances for that first meetup, at least they have some idea of how you prefer to communicate and what some of your boundaries are.
That's perfect, yeah.
It's a quick comment to comment on this comment, which is that if you don't feel comfortable reaching out to a person, something that I heard in another meeting that I thought was really powerful was ask your chair to do it. Just put it on your chair and say, you know, I want this person as my mentor, reach out to them.
Yeah, no, your chair or anyone that you know in your organization that you feel can do that for you, that's sort of, we love to do that. So yeah, ask someone else. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. No. Well, thank you guys.
thank you, everyone. Thank you, Liz.